Well, ultimately, and like you're saying, if I remember correctly, you actually have mined for the real gold stuff. I mean, you've done that in your past, and it is a large amount to wrap your head around of what potentially could have been there, and how you could, sell it off a little at a time, and go get to travel and do things like that. And it almost, I would think for you personally, there's these people that always go, well, how can a loving God send people to hell? Well, I think
Yeah.
hackers have a special place. I believe the people that do crime this way, that the guy that walked into a bank back in the 1800s and said, stick 'em up, I respect him a whole lot more than these weasels, in a basement, just clicking it away at a computer and trying to get into, developing technology to hurt people and to steal their livelihoods. Obviously, crypto was something you put a lot of effort into it. You did a lot of work, and a
Yeah.
lot of it.
So
This is happening every day to people's real bank accounts.
yes, but there's a difference in that, right? Mine was so without revealing too much
Hmm.
because there's so far I've told you a bunch of different pieces, but the way the book reads is it tells the story of begins with the crypto theft, and then it goes into the how did we get here in the first place, and it talks about gold mining. I spend every summer, and that's actually what I did in part of my retirement time is like I call it. I actually gold mine. Spent a good chunk of the year doing that because that was my happy place because I was being rewarded for the amount of effort that I put forth. So if I'm spending 12 hours in the water dredging or I'm underground in one of the mines that I have some gold mines in New Mexico. They don't really produce; they're more for fun. But if I'm doing that, I'm going to be rewarded for the hard work. Yes, I actually
I
have
get to
gold mines
see
in New
you like
Mexico.
got your beard going, and you're just like
Whistle
the
while I
Rudolph the
work.
Red-Nosed Reindeer guy,
Yeah.
going
Yeah.
and you
Well,
taste it.
or like I'm one of the seven dwarfs, right? And so it's one of those things where, but there's a lot of parallels, right? As I'm talking to the therapist about this, she's helping me connect the dots because if you think of it, when you're gold mining, there's a little bit of luck involved, but it's also how much effort you put forth. If you are dredging, which is my preferred choice, where I'm underwater, basically vacuuming a riverbed, think Gold Rush whitewater if you want,
Mm-hmm.
or Bering Sea gold. I'm basically doing that, but I'm doing it in a river, not as TV dramatic. But I'm basically, if I'm spending 12 hours in a day, and the guy next to me who's 100 feet downriver is only spending 8 hours, guess what? I'm going to get more gold. So I'm being directly rewarded for the amount of effort I'm putting forth. There's a little bit of luck too, by the way, but I'm being rewarded for the amount of effort that I'm putting forth. Now, and if you look in the crypto space and the crypto mining space, the more machines you have would be the more work you're putting forth. And the luck factor would be the group of computers that you have find the block, which means you're rewarded X number of Bitcoins based on the block ratio. So to me, in my mind, there's a parallel. And I can go ahead and I can equate the two in my simplistic caveman mind here, right? I'm being rewarded for the amount of effort I put forth. So there's some easy parallels in my mind. So I'm rationalizing this, but I'm also enjoying what I'm doing because you've got an emerging technology. And it's kind of like when PCs first came out, if you thought they were cool, they were cool. You like them. Well, at this point, crypto is kind of cool to the hobbyists. When it becomes influencer based, it kind of loses its luster for me because now everybody is corrupting the idea of what it could become. And that's kind of towards 2019, I was kind of feeling that way. And then when the theft happened, it kind of helped me, rationalize a bunch of stuff. But in the book, I talk about all the different, ventures I went on as far as different business ventures and different business partners and experiences with that. And you begin to realize how I'm kind of shaping my views. So the idea that was told to Brandy and some other people that I wanted to do with the crypto was ultimately I wanted to do micro lending because the idea was if I have one Bitcoin and it's worth, let's say, $60,000, or which should be the price around right now, then I can use that as a leveraged asset like I could a piece of gold. So I could use it that I could borrow against. So the idea was to do micro lending to help people promote themselves. So there's a website out there that I love. It's called kiva.org. And the idea behind Kiva is collectively a group of people can micro lend or micro fund a entrepreneur in another country. I think I've done 70 countries at this point where I can put in $20 or $50 or $100, small amount, and I could collectively put in with 10, 12 other people. and they will fund products for a entrepreneur, or they'll fund seeds for a farmer, right? So $20 for us in the US doesn't really seem like a lot, but that is life-changing amounts in many countries. Well, as I traveled in the 2010s, 2011s, the late 20s, the late 2000s, I did a lot of traveling internationally. And that's when my opinion began to form about, how well we have it in the US and how many opportunities we have that we take for granted. So that was always in the back of my mind. And so as I see this accumulation of crypto wealth that could be, that's kind of what I keep wanting to do, give the opportunity to make an impact beyond yourself. And I don't say that tongue in cheek. That was honestly what I was trying to do, which is why I really never focused on the dollar amount, because as far as I was concerned, when I got to a certain point, which I had a dollar amount that I was just going to sell everything at. When I got to that point, I would just do that, and that would become the next journey. Well, when the theft happens, not only in my mind, I'm not letting my family down directly because they didn't even know about it in the first place. I'm now being cheated of that opportunity to have the impact that I was really hoping I was having. So
yes,
I basically had to get to a point to rationalize that, hey, maybe in some weird universe, the story about the theft may actually be the story, because I didn't kill myself.
No,
I came out the other end. My faith is stronger than it ever has been.
I'm glad to hear that. And if I could ask you to do anything for the rest of your life, would be cybersecurity. I want to sick Brian Oakes on the world, and somehow everything you've learned, you get them, Brian. I want you to drain their accounts. I want you to somehow drain their accounts and see what it feels like, huh?
So a friend of mine said, actually it was his wife who said this, and I kind of had to take a step back and say, what do you think of me at this point, right? So they were really concerned because of my kind of obsessive personality of really just the why, the figure it out, I really got to figure this out. I really got to figure this out. They were honestly concerned that I would figure out who did it, find the person, I would track them down. I would get into the light system, the traffic light system. First I'd figure out their patterns, right?
Sure.
And I'd figure out that they always went by this traffic light at a certain time, and I would get out of my little car and I'd hook into the traffic light system, and then all of a sudden I'd switch it and a bus would come and smash the car they were going through, and they'd die or something. And then I would be like Jason Bourne and get on a motorcycle and zip away or something. And I said, okay, as cool as I think that is, I just don't have that in me.
Right.
Now, I'm really concerned that they thought that I had that in me, first off.
Okay.
But I don't have that in me, right? But it's one of those things where I really just had to get to a point that whatever the person did with it, or group of people, or national country-based organization that I believe this was part of, I just hope they did something good with it. And that's what I just had to come to. And that's a hard pill for some people to swallow, but I just had to become okay with it. And the simple fact that I rationalize everything that happened and have kind of come to that conclusion just amazes a lot of people. And they were like, well, I don't know how you did it. I couldn't do it. Well, through the book, I kind of have the building of the faith and building of the story and building of how I came to this process, and just think of it as foundational stories, right? And then 2022, I believe it was, Brandy was diagnosed with breast cancer.
Oh.
And ended up having a double mastectomy a month after she was diagnosed. Fortunately, she had stage 0 cancer, or stage 1. But the weird thing in this is how we as a family and couple came to that conclusion is kind of how we came to the conclusion of how we handle the crypto theft. Is you just keep on keeping on.
Right.
You don't necessarily wallow in the misery. You take the situation at hand and you handle it, and you just keep moving on. Because at the end of the day, what did we lose? Well, my wife is still here.
Mm-hmm.
She's still my partner in life. The crypto wasn't defining us. So it really shows a lot of people, and just when I've told them the story, where you put your priorities. And in today's world, everything is so money and influence and culture and all that kind of stuff. it really just goes to show, and when you put your faith in things that are really important, not the superficial things that are prescribed by the world we live in, you can come out the other side. And so that's kind of why I decided to write the book, because it was one of those things where I figured if I went through this, maybe the upside is maybe I needed to tell the story of how here you have the guy who knows everything, the expert, the smartest guy in the room, ultimately makes a dumb mistake that was exposed by being a victim, and how he came out the other side. And by the way, I actually made a mistake in this. I made a simple human mistake. And like I said, I talk about it in the book, and I made a dumb mistake. So what does that do? How are you now viewed by peers? How are you viewed by people? Because we all have a little bit of an ego, good and bad. We all have a reputation to protect. We all have just our image, ourself, right? And now I'm admitting to the world the simple mistake I made. And I thought it was valuable enough because guess what? Nobody's perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody, we all make mistakes. It just depends on how much somebody wants to find it. So when we actually, kind of decided to write the book, it basically started out with story. And it even goes to the point of conversations with the therapist. Because imagine going to a therapist saying, hey, I have a completely first world problem and I know that, but I just want to talk to somebody about it because I want to get it out of me. And it took a little while for her to kind of understand that. And she ended up being a great listener. And really, that's kind of what I needed. And so to me, therapy is always that conversation with people where you just have a good listener sometimes. Because sometimes you already know the answer to your problems. You just need to verbalize it.
Mention the name of the book again.
The name of the book is Undermined, under, M-I-N-E-D. You can also go to undermined.com. If you search for Undermined Brian Oakes on Amazon, it's there. It's available Kindle, and it'll be printed and sent to you within a day or so. And I'm actually working on the audiobook right now.
Okay, wow. Okay. So thank you so much for sharing your memories with us.